What happens when the strongest man on earth gets angry? Not just angry, but steps into a cage to personally teach a lesson to anyone who dared to disrespect him. His hands can lift airplanes, but tonight they're breaking jaws. This is the story of Mariusz Pudzianowski, a 5-time world's strongest man who got tired of trash talk and started smashing loudmouths inside the cage. What you're about to witness is one of the most brutal and entertaining revenge runs in combat sports history. If you love watching arrogance get punished, don't go anywhere. Hit like and subscribe. First, let's put his greatness into perspective. Mariusz Pudzianowski isn't just an athlete. He's the living embodiment of raw, unfiltered power. Winning the world's strongest man title 5 times is a historic achievement on its own. His training wasn't about lifting weights in a gym. It was a battle against physics itself. Lifting rail cars, dragging trucks, tossing implements most people couldn't even budge. His body wasn't built for aesthetics. It was engineered to overcome extreme resistance. But one day, conquering lifeless objects wasn't enough anymore. Inside him, the spirit of a true warrior awakened, a desire to test his strength in the most ancient and honest form of competition: man versus man. When he entered the world of mixed martial arts, he was met with skepticism and outright mockery. Fighters and experts dismissed him as a circus strongman, a muscle-bound lifter with no real understanding of fighting, technique, endurance, or strategy. That overconfidence from his future opponents would become their biggest and most costly mistake. The first man to pay for it was the massive Serigne Usman Dia, nicknamed the Bomber. He had a huge frame, huge confidence, and an even bigger mouth. Dia publicly mocked Pudzianowski and made bold predictions, clearly not seeing him as a serious threat. On paper, Dia had everything: experience, reach, swagger. What he didn't account for was the terrifying speed at which the full force of an enraged strongman can be unleashed. The fight lasted 18 seconds. It wasn't a contest. It was a public execution. Without hesitation, Pudzianowski exploded forward and landed a crushing left hook that sent the Bomber into a deep knockout. Dia didn't even have time to process what happened. His words and confidence vanished in an instant, replaced by his unconscious body on the canvas. It wasn't just a loss, it was the complete destruction of a reputation with a single punch. The next victim was a living legend. Eric Butterbean Esch, the Human Barrel, a veteran fighter whose 400-pound frame and sledgehammer fists had knocked out dozens of opponents. Looking at Pudzianowski, Butterbean saw nothing more than another target for his famous power shots. He even mocked Mariusz, claiming that Pudzianowski punches like a girl. That line sealed his fate. The fight exposed the difference between punching power and total body strength. Butterbean tried to pressure with his weight and swing wild bombs, but Mariusz wasn't just strong, he was composed, technical, and incredibly stable. He absorbed the attacks with ease, and in one moment simply dumped the giant to the canvas like a piece of furniture. What followed could barely be called a sporting contest. It was a methodical, brutal beating. The referee had no choice but to step in to save Butterbean from serious damage. That night, it wasn't just one fighter who lost. An entire symbol of unstoppable brute force was torn down by a man who redefined what real strength looks like. However, the real test for Mariusz came on May 21st, 2010. This time, he wasn't facing another oversized brawler, but James Thompson, a seasoned, well-rounded MMA veteran with real technical skill. Thompson had strategy, grappling ability, solid striking, and the experience many believed would finally expose all the weaknesses of a strong man stepping into MMA. Confident in his edge, Thompson also played the psychological game, publicly insulting Pudzianowski and calling him a pig. That personal disrespect became fuel, and it made Mariusz even more dangerous. This fight was completely different. Thompson was no pushover. They traded heavy shots. The fight bounced between the feet and the ground, and chaos ruled the cage. But this was where Pudzianowski showed more than just brute strength. He showed willpower. He didn't fear the professional. He met him head on. Mariusz imposed himself physically. In the clinch, he controlled Thompson. On the ground, his sheer weight shut down every escape attempt. On the feet, his punches smashed through Thompson's guard. The victory didn't come instantly, but it was decisive. Thompson wasn't just beaten. He was broken mentally and physically, taught a brutal lesson in respect. Apparently, the message still wasn't received. Next came Bob Sapp, a comic book giant with a reputation as a dirty fighter and terrifying knockout power. He was so massive that even Pudzianowski looked small standing next to him. Sapp repeated the now familiar insult. "Mariusz, you punch like a girl," convinced his size and strength would overwhelm the former strongman. Instead, he ran straight into pure rage. Pudzianowski fought like a bulldozer. He charged forward, blasted Sapp off his feet with a powerful takedown, and once on top, unleashed a relentless storm of brutal ground and pound. Sapp, once a symbol of unstoppable power, lay helpless beneath him, unable to fight back. It wasn't just a victory over an opponent. It was a victory over the idea that size alone wins fights. The climax of this violent saga came against Michał Materla, an elite European heavyweight known for discipline, sharp technique, and the ability to finish fights. Materla wasn't a loudmouth. He was a quiet, dangerous professional. Even he seemed to underestimate Pudzianowski, making dismissive comments before the bout. This fight proved Mariusz's power wasn't wild or reckless. He controlled distance intelligently, waited for the perfect moment, and ended the fight with one perfectly timed uppercut, thrown with his entire body behind it. Materla, experienced, technical, and respected, collapsed unconscious. That was the win that silenced even the loudest skeptics. The strongest man in the world proved he belonged among real fighters, and that his fists were weapons of ultimate justice, punishing arrogance and empty trash talk. Mariusz Pudzianowski's journey inside the cage isn't just a sports story. It's a timeless reminder that actions always speak louder than words. Hit like if you believe every insult deserves an answer. Subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments, which trash talker do you think got exactly what they deserved?